Hey, what's up everyone, Raging Golden Eagle here, having way too much fun as always. And as could be expected of me, I am finally back to ripping on colleges again. In this case, specifically the kind of BS that ideologue professors are allowed to get away with. Professors brag of tricking students into social justice classes. While that is pretty horrible, there is a silver lining to this. The fact that these lunatics now have to resort to tricking students into taking their classes is a positive sign. The new generation of kids that are now entering into college, they got to see for the better part of their life, the generation before them basically turned into a bunch of adult babies. And they know that social justice classes are a big contributing factor to this. So faced with this new reality, what are worthless social justice courses and the worthless professors they employ to do? At this point, they're pretty much just concerned with their own self-preservation. Two Canadian professors have developed an approach they call Trojan horse pedagogy to peddle social justice to otherwise unassuming students. And I gotta ask, how do you guys think it would be received if it was any other religion doing this? And yes, given how the true believers behave, I definitely rank social justice among one of the worst religious cults we've ever had to deal with. What do you guys think the reaction would be if they were advertising, say, a science and technology class, but instead of that, the professor whooped out a Bible or a Quran or something and said, "Yup, you guys are about to be indoctrinated into some religion"? That would probably make the national news. But that aside, there is actually one more silver lining to this. The way they described this course would not really be appealing to anyone who was actually going there to learn something useful anyway. Each offering of the course is centered around a specific theme: dirt, sloth, water, genius, and secrets, according to the professors, who say the themes provide a creative cover for the interdisciplinary social justice curriculum that they aim to offer. Yeah, not gonna lie, even if I was back in college right now for any reason, you would not see me taking these new age neoliberal artsy classes unless it was specifically to roast them on this channel. So, to the credit of these professors, at least they know the group of people who would be most susceptible to this type of deception. The students going to college specifically to pick up a skill set that's in demand by employers already know to avoid things like this. For example, the class focused on dirt has brought in guest lecturers on dirt and dirtiness, including a researcher on soil recovery and another on the cholera epidemic. Thus, while unassuming students think they're getting a lesson in dirt, they're really getting an entire class founded upon social justice theory. Alright, so I'm gonna be honest here. What they described in the first sentence of this paragraph does seem like it could be useful to someone, say, in the medical field or a botanist. But I just love how low their opinion of their students' intelligence actually is. Anyone who ends up in that class seeking to learn actual facts, such as, for example, methods of soil recovery, or some information on the cholera epidemic, the students go in there to hear that, they're gonna know that's not what they're getting. People with a functional brain can tell when a religion is being preached to them. So before any of you guys decide to up and go to college, make sure the college you're going to actually has some sort of respect for you. The fact that the administrators of this college allow this type of blatant deception and brainwashing is kind of concerning. Whereas a gender equality and social justice course evokes a range of assumptions about course content that prevents many from even considering enrolling, maybe because they're interested in actual facts instead of feelings, and because they want to learn something useful, and they don't want religion preached at them. Just some speculation on my part, but I'm quite sure that has something to do with it. Dirt or Secrets has no such baggage, they boast. So before I move on with this, another potential thing you students need to be aware of. If you see artsy names like this given to your courses, and they have very vague course descriptions, do not enroll in those courses. If these colleges can't be upfront about the exact type of information they're going to be imparting to you in these courses and what's going to be expected of you, then it's kind of obvious they're trying to hide something. Why would they be trying to hide something? I'll give you a hint, it's never actually for your own good. Though of course we worry that this approach surrenders too much to such politics, we have been sufficiently awed by the ways in which these courses permit a pathway to social justice education to a far greater number of students to believe the ruse is justified. Okay, so they're justified because they're able to get more converts into their cult. Going back to what I was saying towards the beginning, imagine another group doing this. For example, neo-Nazis. What would the reaction be if a group of neo-Nazis were doing the same thing? Say they put up a course on community organizing. Why community organizing? Well, that's a good way to bring in all these gullible people. And instead, what they were getting was an indoctrination into the Nazi ideology. If that got out, what would the reaction be? Again, it would probably make the national news. Yet these social justice cultists, whose beliefs ironically are actually pretty damn close to the Nazis, are allowed to get away with it. The administration of these colleges either turns a blind eye to it or they actively endorse it. But man, this line right here, this takes the cake. Renshaw and Valaquette admit that their approach shamelessly appeals precisely to a neoliberal subject, so hint hint students, ignore those subjects too. They're probably not going to help you out in the real world, to be honest. Saying they even appease vocational anxiety by emphasizing the utility of interdisciplinary skills in the workplace to convince students that the subject matter can contribute more or less directly to a job. Wow, talk about a blatant lie right there. Unless you're specifically aiming to get into academia anyway. Every other type of job though? I'm sorry, if I was an employer and I came across a resume who was putting front and center all of these quote-unquote interdisciplinary skills, funny enough, almost always at the expense of actual useful skills that I'd be looking for, that resume is going straight into the trash. And funny enough, that's another skill that these colleges have seemingly just completely stopped teaching potential students. They're not being taught how to write and format their resumes to appeal to hiring managers and HR managers. And more importantly, they're not being taught that you should probably send a different resume to different employers highlighting different skills. Any good job description out there is going to list what's going to be expected of you and the type of work you're going to be doing. So you're supposed to tailor your resume to that. Focus specifically on work experience and education that lets the employers know, hey, I know how to do this. Now you may not want to hear this, but the fact is, when it comes to a lot of higher paying technical jobs, what the employers are looking for is a specialist that has a lot of skills and knowledge in a very in-demand area. Not one of these generalist interdisciplinary skills people. You're only going to get the bottom rung jobs with that skill set, or lack of a skill set rather. Employers are looking for knowledge and skills that takes years of training to develop. If the only knowledge and skills you have to offer are of the level that any random scrub can be picked up off the street and trained to do a job like that within an hour, your resume is going straight into the trash can. So unless you're one of those financially well-off people that can afford to go to college just out of interest in a subject, as opposed to the rest of us that are going to college to learn a useful skill so we could land a better job, you guys really need to avoid these artsy neoliberal classes entirely. Do your research, find out what you want to do after college, and make sure there's going to be a job market for that available by the time you graduate. And while in college, only take classes that'll help you with that goal, that will teach you the skills you need to succeed in that field, and that will actually look appealing to potential employers when you put them on your resume. Anything else and you're pretty much just setting yourself up for disappointment. And that's all I gotta say, guys. Thanks for listening.